Democrats understand that. And it looks like we're getting close to the shutdown ending. You'll know very soon. Thank you very much.
Now, we look forward to the government reopening this week so Congress can get back to our regular legislative session. We have a lot of business to do, as you all know, and we will be working in earnest. There'll be long days and long nights here for the foreseeable future to make up for all this lost time that was imposed upon us.
I'm here in Washington, D.C. again, fighting for your rights to try to get some market structure legislation passed for crypto. This would be foundational, just like we did for stablecoins a few months ago with the Genius Act. Market structure legislation protects all the other non-stablecoin crypto assets like Bitcoin and Ethereum. The Senate is strongly supportive of getting this done. The members that I met with on both sides of the aisle are ready to get this legislation passed, and there's draft text now being exchanged back and forth and with the industry for comment, which is great. We saw a lot of alignment today. Now, of course, this hasn't stopped the big banks from trying to throw a wrench into things, and they're trying to ban rewards on stablecoins. The members of the Senate who I spoke to, they're not going to let that happen. That was already litigated and decided in the Genius Act for stablecoins. They're not going to bring it up again. But barring these little details here and there, I think this thing has a good chance of getting done. I've actually never been more bullish on the market structure getting passed. It's a freight train leaving the station. So we're going to keep showing up and fighting for your rights. You can do a lot to help by going to standwithcrypto.org and contacting your representatives. Let them know that you want to see market structure legislation passed for crypto.
Bitcoin Act establishes the Strategic Bitcoin Reserve, a federal initiative to ensure that the United States holds a meaningful position in the most important decentralized financial network on Earth. With an eye to fiscal responsibility and innovation, the legislation outlines a plan to phase in the acquisition of up to 1 million Bitcoin, or roughly 5% of its total final supply over 5 years. Importantly, this will be done without raising taxes or increasing government debt. The Bitcoin Act is designed to be budget neutral, relying on Federal Reserve remittances, which exceeded $76 billion in 2023, gold certificate revaluations, unlocking additional capital without new spending, and updates to the Exchange Stabilization Fund. These mechanisms allow us to build a strategic reserve without burdening taxpayers, while also potentially offsetting long-term national debt.
So round two. You're back here in the U.S. This has been the dream.
Long time coming.
So let's go backwards. You've been operating. We talk about poly market as if everybody can use it, but the truth is that most folks couldn't because you had to be in Europe
for trading. I mean, I think the way you guys talk about poly markets kind of like become the Bloomberg terminal for reality
for a couple of years. So you've been famously skeptical about Bitcoin. And but I think you've come off of that a little bit over the last 6 months or 12 months. And I know JP Morgan uses a lot of blockchain token and a lot of innovation into your business and your approach. How do you balance the risk of investing in technologies that are going to drive innovation and future growth? And what are your thoughts on stablecoin and Bitcoin? That's a loaded question.
This is a great way to deal with an issue or something like that. Whenever we meet as a business unit, so it could be a small business unit like consumer branches or a big one like global investment banking, on the table and on the agenda is what are you doing in tech, AI, et cetera. That is always on the agenda. And I do it differently than other people. I don't say what's in your budget. I always say, are you doing everything you need to do to win in the future, period. And I don't care what the budget says. I don't care whether, and you may walk in and say, you know what, I was just over somewhere, I really need to do X. My view is, you better be doing X. You know, so to me, the budget is a roadmap. It is not your boss. And so I make people, we're going to do that. Stablecoin was one where I don't know how it's going to play out. But that also answers my question is, what do we do about it? We're involved. We're building a stable coin. We may build it with other banks. We have a JP Morgan deposit coin already, which I can pay you interest on. We use the blockchain. Any of these tools that you want to use for smart contracts and stuff like that, we are simply going to do. I don't know how it's going to sort out. But I'd rather be plain, which keeps us smart, than acting like I know the answer to it. And so, and we do that with all technology. Whether, you know, sometimes regardless of what I think about it, I want you to be dabbling in it. Because you're being smart, and it is much more important than saying Jamie does or doesn't like it and something like that. So, and we do that with almost all frontier type of technologies.
I don't really care what a government thinks or what their position is about crypto. Crypto has its own power that supersedes the power of governments. Right now, the only problem we have is that all of our exchanges are centralized. So if a government does not like what's happening, they can shut down the exchange. Now, they can't stop you from sending and receiving funds because they don't even know about it, especially if you're using a privacy coin like Monero. So I don't care what governments do. I don't want to be subservient to the government.